There is money out there for small businesses, government grants, industry schemes, corporate tenders, real funding that could pay for the equipment, the hire, the upgrade you have been putting off, and most owners never get any of it, not because they do not qualify, but because they take one look at the application form and quietly close the tab. The form is long, it is written in officialese, it asks you to describe your value proposition and your projected outcomes and your alignment with the scheme objectives, and it wants all of it in a tone you do not naturally write in. So a form that could be worth $20,000 loses to the fact that you would rather do literally anything else on a Sunday afternoon. Here is the thing, you have all the answers, you just hate translating them into application language. Today I want to show you how an AI assistant helps you get a real first draft down so the blank form stops being the reason you miss out. It drafts, you make it true. Vijik, the blank application form, Nia's name where most owners get stuck and call it level 0. It is the blank form and the close tab. You hear about a grant or a tender, you think that could really help, you open the application, and you are hit with pages of formal questions in a language that is not yours. You do not lack the substance, you know your business better than anyone. You just cannot face turning what you know into paragraphs about strategic outcomes and measurable impact. So it goes on the someday pile, the deadline passes, and someone less deserving but more willing to fill in forms gets the money. That is level 0, qualifying for real funding but never claiming it because the gap between what you know and what the form wants feels like a wall, and the blank page always wins on a busy week. What an application is really asking. Before we open any tool, get clear on what these forms are actually asking for underneath the jargon because it is less intimidating than it looks. Strip away the officialese and almost every grant or tender wants the same handful of things. Who are you and what do you do? What is the problem or opportunity and why does it matter? What exactly will you do with the money or the contract? What result will it produce, ideally something you can measure? And why are you the right one to trust with it? That is it. The scary phrases, value proposition, projected outcomes, alignment with objectives, are just formal words for questions you can answer in the pub. Who, what problem, what you will do, what result, why you. Name those, and the form stops being a foreign document and becomes a set of things you already know. Give it the form and your real story. Here is the first move, and it is simpler than it sounds. You do not ask the AI to write you a grant application from nothing because it does not know your business and would invent a plausible, useless, generic one. You give it two things. First, the actual form or the tender questions so it knows exactly what is being asked and in what tone. Second, your real story in your own plain words, spoken or typed, however messy, what you do, why you started, the actual problem this money would solve, what you would spend it on, and what would change as a result, the real questions, and your real unpolished answers. With those, the assistant is not making up your business, it is doing the part you hate, translating your true plain answers into the structured, formal language the form is demanding, which is exactly the wall you keep bouncing off. Brief it like a grant writer who knows you. Now the shift that makes this work, you do not say fill in this grant for me and hope. You brief it like a grant writer who has just interviewed you and wants to represent you accurately. It sounds like this. Here is the application form, and here in my own words is everything true about my business and this project. Draft answers to each question in the formal tone the form expects, but only using facts I have actually given you. Where you need information I have not provided, do not invent it, leave a clear gap and ask me for it. Match the word limits and keep it specific to me, not generic. That brief is the whole secret. You are asking it to translate and structure what is true, and crucially to flag what it does not know, rather than filling the holes with confident fiction, which is exactly where these drafts go wrong. Dibana to Maybach. Let me give you the specific jobs to ask for every time, because together they turn a wall into a draft. 1. Translate your plain answers into the form's formal language, keeping every fact yours. 2. Structure it to the actual questions and word limits, so you are not fighting the format as well as the words. 3. And this is the big one. Flag every gap where it needs a real number or detail from you rather than inventing one, because a made-up figure in an application is a disaster. 4. Tighten and sharpen your strongest points, the genuine impact, the real track record so they land. And 5. Give you a checklist of what the application still needs, documents, figures, signatures, before you submit. Translate, structure to the form, flag the gaps, sharpen the strengths, list what is missing, ask for those 5, and the blank form becomes a near finished one application start to finish. Let me make it concrete with a made-up example. Picture an owner we will call Grace, who runs a small childcare center and keeps ignoring a government grant for facility upgrades because the form is 14 pages of formal questions. This time she talks her real story into her AI assistant, plainly that her outdoor play area is unsafe, that she wants to resurface it and add shade, that it would let her take 8 more children safely. She gives it the actual form. It drafts every section in the right tone, using only her facts, and it flags 4 places where it needs real numbers, the code for the resurfacing, her current enrollment, the projected new places. It refuses to guess them. She fills those 4 gaps in 20 minutes, reviews the whole thing, and submits an application she would never have started. That is level 1. Level 0 versus level 1. Now let me name the real difference this makes, because it is not about gaming the system. It is about not losing to the paperwork. Level 0 is qualifying for funding and never claiming it, because the gap between what you know and what the form demands is a wall you close the tab on, so the money goes to whoever could stomach the form. Level 1 is talking your true story into an assistant, handing it the real questions, and getting a structured first draft in the right language in an afternoon, with every gap that needs a real fact clearly flagged for you. Your job shrinks from staring at a blank 14-page form to reviewing a near-complete one and filling a few honest gaps. Same knowledge you always had, same eligibility, except now the officialese is not the thing standing between you and $20,000. You actually apply. Your judgment stays in charge. This next part is not optional, so I want to be direct. An application is a formal, often legally binding statement, so every word must be true, and you are the one who guarantees that, not the AI. It will, if you let it, produce a beautiful confident sentence with a made-up statistic or an overstated claim, and in a grant or tender that is not a small error, it can be fraud and it can cost you the funding and your reputation. So read every line and make sure every fact, figure, and promise is real and yours. Follow the scheme's actual rules on eligibility and evidence, because a polished draft that breaks a requirement still fails. And if the money or the stakes are large, have a person who knows these applications check it before you submit. The AI drafts and translates. You own every claim and the honesty of the whole thing. 11 simple way to start. If you want to try this, here is the low-effort way in, and it is smaller than it sounds. Do not fill in a whole application today. Find one grant or tender you have been avoiding, open it, and pick just the single hardest question, the one that made you close the tab, usually to describe your impact or your objectives one. Talk your honest answer into your AI assistant in plain words, give it that one question, and ask it to draft just that section in the right tone, using only what you said and flagging anything it needs. Read it. That is the whole experiment. One dreaded question turned into a real paragraph. Once you feel the wall come down on the hardest part, the rest of the form stops looking like a reason to give up on free money. The honest watchouts, and because I promised no hype, here are the honest watchouts, and please take them seriously. First, every word is your statement, so never let it invent a figure or a claim. An application is not the place for a confident guess, and you must verify every fact is real and yours. Second, follow the scheme's actual rules, eligibility, evidence, format, because a lovely draft that breaks a requirement is still a rejection. Third, keep it genuinely you. An application that oversells becomes a promise you have to keep, and reviewers can smell generic filler a mile off. And fourth, for anything high value, get a knowledgeable human to check it before you submit. Use it to knock down the language wall and get a real draft down. Keep the truth, the compliance, and the final responsibility firmly in your own hands. Quick recap. Let me pull it together. Level 0 is qualifying for real funding and never claiming it, because the formal application is a wall you close the tab on. Level 1 is stripping the form back to the plain questions underneath, talking your true story into an AI assistant, handing it the actual form, and briefing it to translate your real answers into the right tone, structure it to the questions, and flag every gap it needs a real fact for instead of inventing one. Then you fill the honest gaps, verify every claim, follow the scheme's rules, and get big ones checked. The 5 S's are translate, structure to the form, flag the gaps, sharpen your strengths, and list what is missing. What you get is a near-finished application for money you were always eligible for but kept losing to the paperwork. If you have ever closed the tab on a grant or tender because the form was too much on a busy week, this is the workflow that gets a real first draft down so the paperwork stops costing you the funding, and we made a free, step-by-step course that walks you from level 0 to level 1 in plain language, no jargon and no technical background needed. It shows you how to get an AI assistant onto your own computer, working with your own documents and real projects, so you can draft on your actual applications instead of taking my word for it. Head to aafirstaid.com/level1 and take the free course. Do it once with the single question that keeps making you quit, and watch the wall come down. And if you want more of this, practical AI workflows built for SME owners, honest and no hype, then subscribe. Level 1 is right there. Go take the step.